5 civilians and 2 Ukrainian soldiers were wounded as a result of shelling in the east of Ukraine. In the morning, illegal armed formations carried out a series of powerful attacks along the contact line. Russian-backed militants violated ceasefire 47 times over the past day, using weapons that are prohibited under the Minsk agreements. The shells hit houses, schools and a kindergarten. The glass flew out of the windows during shelling. Shell hit a gym room where children have physical education classes. At the time of attack, children had breakfast at the dining room.
30 pupils and 14 adults were at school in the village of Vrubivka in Popasna district when a shell hit the schoolyard. Miraculously, no one was injured, everyone managed to hide in the basement, but the boiler room caught fire in the yard. Also, a shell of illegal armed groups in Vrubivka hit a house and a farm building. The gas pipeline was also damaged by the shelling. 70 apartments and about 100 private houses were left without gas supply. In the Donetsk region, a local woman was wounded by shrapnel during the shelling of Marinka. The shell fell in the city center near the bus stop, beside the school. During the shelling of the Kindrashivka-Nova station near Stanitsa Luhanska, a locomotive was destroyed and the depot building was damaged, but no one was injured. In general, illegal armed groups fired 39 times at the territories of Donetsk and Luhansk regions controlled by Ukraine as of 4 p.m. this day, and 30 shellings were from weapons prohibited by the Minsk agreements.
This is a violation of that agreement, which was allegedly discussed a few weeks ago at a meeting of political advisors in Berlin. And obviously, this is a part of real hybrid war with the involvement of military information and cyber instruments of the Russian Federation, not only against Ukraine, but also against the free world. This is a violation of that agreement, which was allegedly discussed a few weeks ago at a meeting of political advisors in Berlin. And obviously, this is a part of real hybrid war with the involvement of military information and cyber instruments of the Russian Federation, not only against Ukraine, but also against the free world.
Serhiy Garmash, a representative of certain districts of the Donetsk region in the Trilateral Contact Group from Ukraine, believes that today's shelling is an attempt to aggravate the situation and one of the elements of pressure on Ukraine, as well as the accumulation of troops near Ukraine's border, ultimatums on Ukraine's accession to NATO, and cyber attacks. I think that these shellings are still situational. This is not a belly case. This is not a war pretext, as some media wrote, but simply a situation shelling, for example, the purpose of which is to escalate the general situation in the Donbas in connection with the diplomatic processes that are currently underway, in particular the meeting of the UN Security Council on the implementation of the Minsk agreements. I think Ukraine should raise the issue that Russia is escalating the situation. Meanwhile, the Russian media and the administrations of temporarily occupied territories launched misinformation alleging that the shelling of settlements was carried out by the Ukrainian side. The Joint Forces Operation Headquarters said that specialists were currently working at the sites of the shelling to determine the trajectories, study the evidence and provide full information as soon as possible. The Ukrainian military can already prove that the shelling from their side was impossible. All our artillery weapons, as previously reported, were in the areas of withdrawal in accordance with the Minsk agreements. The joint forces do not shoot at civilians. They use weapons only in response, making sure there is no civilian infrastructure or civilians in the area, and only on the occupation troops. Reported by Nick Starkov, Yuliana Lozova for UATV News.
Like the silence before the storm, this is how the Ukrainian servicemen comment on this situation along the contact line. They say it's not time to relax. The enemy is unpredictable. The dates of possible attacks by illegal armed groups don't scare Ukrainian servicemen, as they have been hearing this for 8 years.
We hear it all the time and we have to be ready every moment, because there is a little truth in every lie.
According to the servicemen who have been repeatedly taking part in hostilities, the technical condition of combat infantry vehicles is checked daily.
We inspect the fuel system and the tubes tightened. There should be no fuel leaks anywhere. The vehicle must always be in combat readiness. There must be no water or oil to prevent open flames flare up anywhere on the engine.
Every week, our camera crew works on various positions of the Ukrainian servicemen, and we constantly ask about provocations and how our defenders react to the aggravation of the situation in the east of the country. Today, we ask how they see the scenario of the development of events in connection with the increase of military equipment along the Ukrainian borders.
We have to be ready for the force scenario. Attacks can be launched from separate regions that are not controlled by Ukraine, in particular from the sea, the Crimea or Odessa. It is necessary to constantly carry out reconnaissance.
In addition, it is necessary to conduct regular military training and modernize weapons. At the same time, servicemen have enough military experience.
The most important is that we have experienced people who are motivated, because you can have any weapon but not be able to use it, and now we are able.
Reported by Olena Gramova, Vladislav Bobrun, UATV News. Ukraine will launch single information platform to ensure daily informing the public about the security situation, as well as measures taken to strengthen the defense capability of the state. The resource is planned to be called UATogether. Time schedule for holding meetings of foreign diplomats and Ukrainian communities in foreign diplomatic missions will be also available on this resource. Operational information will be provided by official sources. Ukrainian Parliament ratifies the Open Skies Agreement with the European Union. The treaty ends flight restrictions that were previously applied to EU and Ukrainian carriers. It is designed to create a common aviation area between Ukraine, the EU and its member states, in particular on identical rules in the field of flight safety, aviation security, air traffic management, environmental protection, consumer protection, computer reservation systems, as well as on identical rules regarding social aspects. The treaty is expected to increase the number of flights to and from Ukraine. It is infrastructure development. We are talking about small regional airports which are currently being repaired and reconstructed in Ukrainian cities, and they will carry out long-distance flights.
At the beginning of this year, the Ukrainian Wikipedia became the 16th in the world in terms of the number of articles. But at the same time, there is not enough information about Ukraine in foreign languages in the Internet Encyclopedia. That's what we are working on. It depends, of course, on how to measure. However, the Ukrainian language section of Wikipedia remains the most complete source of information about Ukraine on the Internet. That's understandable. But in total, Wikipedia has more than 300 language chapters, and our goal is to have articles about Ukraine in many languages. One of the least described topics is Ukrainian culture, so most of the articles will be dedicated to it. In addition, according to Ukrainian Institute, this will help fight disinformation. Russian Wikipedia contributors very often tend to rewrite history and culture, either by appropriating Ukrainian property or falsifying overtly historical events and rewriting them from a Russian perspective. That's why this is also very important work. Probably the clearest example is Kazimir Malevich, who is enshrined in world art history as an artist of the Russian avant-garde, although he was born in Kiev and taught the Kiev Art Institute. To attract more participants, an information campaign is being carried out in foreign universities and on the Wikipedia website, and the most active authors will be awarded. Becoming a member is very simple. You need to register on Wikipedia in the language you speak or know well. Then you choose one of the proposed topics or one of the articles simply on Ukrainian culture or famous people and write an article about this cultural phenomenon in Wikipedia. According to the results of the previous campaign, 172 participants created and updated more than 1,200 articles in different languages. This year, the action will last from February 17th to the 17th of March. Reported by Nick Starkov, Danilo Kobza, Alexander Bugay for UATV News.